guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be reacting to a video called Top 10 Most Famous Canadians That You Should Know. I don't know, there's a lot of Canadians, probably a lot of politicians, musicians, maybe actors, I don't know. I think those are all probably hockey players, I don't know, I'm not that familiar with a lot of them, but I'm probably thinking a huge chunk of them are from Canada. So I'm excited. Let's check it out and comment, like, and subscribe.
These are some of the most influential Canucks to come out of the Great White North.
Happy Hunger Game, and may the odds be ever in your favor.
Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 iconic Canadians. For this list, we're looking at the most iconic Canadians in history, in terms of their influence and notoriety at home and abroad.
Scott outsmarted himself.
Yeah, I'm guessing because some people are probably going to be famous only in Canada, but then obviously you have people that are sort of world-renowned.
On that one. Go again, Jay.
The entries are ranked based on their overall accomplishments, as well as contributions to the country and their embodiment of Canadian values.
Do you still get nervous before you go on the air, though?
Oh, yeah. Oh, are you kidding?
Really?
I'm as excited now as I was the very first show.
However, we're excluding people like Alexander Graham Bell, who only lived in Canada for a short time and was technically a British Commonwealth citizen.
It was clear as a bell.
Well, but if it wasn't born then, was he even Canadian?
Mr. Bell.
Now let's get started, eh? Number 10, David Suzuki.
We're the only animal that said, we can affect the future by what we do today.
One of Canada's most beautiful qualities is its vast natural landscape.
Yeah.
And Canada is proud of the fact that one of the biggest names in the world to be associated with the fight for environmental conservation is that of a Canadian.
We are going to destroy the very things that make that land so precious to us, the very things that keep us alive and healthy. That's what this battle is about.
Suzuki has worked tirelessly as an educator to fight for this cause, and has even brought his work to a wider audience thanks to the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation and PBS.
This is where I fell in love with life. But there's a darker side to my being here. A warning of the potent, even dangerous consequences of misusing our ideas about how life works.
More recently, he's become a fierce supporter of the fight against climate change and strives towards making the world a more sustainable place.
Things are only impossible until someone decides that they're not. Today is the day we decide.
Number 9, Tommy Douglas.
Well, if you're up against a bully, you need to use your head.
What's this? A politician that actually accomplished something? As Premier of the province of Saskatchewan, Tommy Douglas strived to give Canada one of its greatest gifts, universal health care.
In 1959, Douglas proposed a compulsory prepaid health plan the country would come to know as Medicare. 60% of Saskatchewan residents would vote against it.
He's widely credited as the
What would you vote against this? People are crazy.
father of Medicare in Canada. His work and vision would later be continued by fellow Canadians to become federal law, making healthcare a right for all Canadians.
Now, if my honorable friend would just sit down and dangle his legs, I should be able to wrap up shortly.
For his impact, in 1981, Douglas received the Order of Canada.
Yeah, hold on. What year did he did this? I sort of missed that.
I want to remind you, you can lock up a mouse and you can lock up a man, but you can't lock up an idea.
Even decades after his death,
That's very, very true. I think ideas live on long before people do.
countless lives are
As well, yeah, people can get locked up, you can kill people, but ideals? No, that's a thing that lasts forever.
still being improved thanks to a little fellow with an idea. And to thank him, in 2004, citizens of the country voted him the greatest Canadian.
Leaving Saskatchewan, Douglas
Okay, so he's super famous over there. People really do hold him in high regard, as in Canadians themselves hold him in high regard.
said, I hope the record will show that I serve the people not too badly.
Number 8, Neil Young.
Old man, look at my life. I'm a lot like you were.
Young rose to international fame throughout the 60s and 70s with his crisp folk rock sound and poetic singer-songwriter lyrics.
For the thought that I've caused that my head is
first appeared as a founding member of the band Buffalo Springfield, and later with the famed Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young. His music was reflective of the times of political turmoil.
What if you knew her and found her dead on the ground?
With tracks like Ohio written in response to the National Guard shooting at Kent State University, but also indicative of more Canadian feelings and ideals, as heard in Helpless.
There is a town in North Ontario.
Today, Young is still performing,
Why do Canadians believe are their own values?
retaining his Canadian citizenship, and sticking to his political guns with his critique of Canadian politics, reminding us all to keep on rocking in the free world.
Well, yeah, you obviously, again, West Music Live, not to criticize politicians, is a form of protest as well.
Number 7, Sir John A. Macdonald.
Just imagine, to the east, the Atlantic provinces, then Upper and Lower Canada, across the prairies to the Rockies and beyond. A new country made one by a railway from sea to sea.
Although Scottish-born, John A. Macdonald was the first Canadian Prime Minister and a driving force behind the foundation of the country.
Sir John A. Macdonald won 3 more elections in 1882, 1887, and 1891.
Gotta say, these are very recent, so it's kind of crazy to think, oh, they only had sort of, the Canadas and the country, it was 80, 91, 80, 80, 82. It's, oh my god, that's so recent for a country.
Serving as Prime Minister for 19 years, his political maneuvering and rousing sense of nationalism allowed him to bring together French and English-speaking colonies to form a unified nation.
One thing, so simple to us.
Sort of nationalism, not always good, but in this case, I think necessary, and it was good for him.
But it made him stand out then. He shaved. He was clean shaven. All men then in public life had big, bushy beards.
He further helped to keep the country connected by getting the Canadian Pacific Railway underway.
As a consequence of his tragic personal life, Macdonald became a heavy drinker for much of his life.
While criticized at the time for being an alcoholic womanizer, he is well remembered today for being one of the principal fathers of Canada.
Well, it's very, I know that people really do care about their politicians' sort of personal lives, but at the same time as well, he has some personal problems, but as into politics, they were good, so I guess that's why it's still renowned.
And the time for union is now.
I'm gonna be very bad about this, but if you're not the wife, then, well, who cares if it's a womanizer?
Ask you to take the dare.
Number 6, Celine Dion. Canada has so many great singers for such a small population, from Bryan Adams to Shania Twain.
It's a small population. How many people live in Canada?
But one voice undeniably stands out from the rest. By the age of 22, Dion was already a star in her home province of Quebec, having built an impressive francophone body of work. But that's when she released her first Anglophone album, opening herself up to international audiences.
Is her first sort of language French? That's why she started singing in French?
In addition to her many accomplishments, Dion has won 5 Grammys and is recognized around the world as one of the greatest singing talents ever. The heart of her music will indeed go on. Number 5, Lester B. Pearson.
Is to find solutions for the problems which, because we have left them unsolved over the years, have finally exploded into this fighting and conflict.
A politician who did many valuable things during his career, Pearson achieved one of his greatest accomplishments in 1956, when, as Secretary of State for External Affairs, he successfully helped resolve the Suez Crisis, for which he received the Nobel Peace Prize.
By 1956, Lester...
resolve a huge crisis on its own. Okay.
Pearson is the best known Canadian in the world.
Later becoming prime minister, his minority Liberal government introduced student loans, kept Canada from entering the Vietnam War, abolished the death penalty, and federalized Tommy Douglas's work by introducing universal health care.
But the actual process of negotiation at times must be done quietly.
As if that wasn't enough, next time you think about how awesome Canada's flag is, you can thank him for that too.
We have a special association with Europe, with Great Britain and with France, and we are North American. So we can talk to both sides in their own, not only their own language, in their own accent.
Number 4, Jim Carrey.
Guess you didn't see that coming.
Sure, when it comes to Canadian comedians, Mike Myers is an obvious contender.
Well, that's just groovy, baby.
But not many can compete with Rubberface himself. Carrey worked in stand-up and appeared on television before rising to stardom through classic roles like Ace Ventura.
Would you like an ashtray?
I don't smoke. It's a disgusting habit.
And Stanley Ipkiss in The Mask.
It's party time! P-A-R-T. Why? Because I gotta!
Leaving his mark not only on Canada, but also on the American film industry, he then showed us he could pull off a serious side of acting with The Truman Show. Not bad for a guy who grew up in poverty in Ontario.
Hey! There's not going to be any fight without Scott Riles and the incredibly polite Canadian news team.
Number 3, Terry Fox.
I'm crying now because there's somebody here right now who is going through the same thing that I went through.
Oh my God, this makes me cry.
Exact same thing, and he's only 10 years old.
A teen athlete who was diagnosed with cancer and ultimately had a leg amputated, Terry Fox is representative of the indomitable spirit of the Canadian people.
I've said to people before that I'm going to do my very best to make it. I'm not going to give up, and that's true. But I might not make it, and if I don't make it, the Marathon of Hope better continue.
With a positive outlook and impressed by the importance of medical research, Fox made the decision not to sulk, but to raise money for cancer study by running across...
That's more than whatever sort of other things he did. I think it's more about this spirit and the whole thing, I'm not giving up. And I think that's really, if that embodies the spirit of Canadian people, then awesome.
Canada on his prosthetic leg.
The Marathon of Hope. And Terry would do it by running 26 miles. A marathon every single day.
When cancer struck again, he was forced to end the Marathon of Hope early, and he passed away a few months later.
All I can say is if there's any way I can get out there again and finish it, I will.
His memory lives on today, though, as every year, the Terry Fox Run fundraises for cancer research. His courage and strength continues to inspire thousands afflicted by this disease all over the world.
Across the country, there were hundreds of courses and hundreds of thousands of runners who collected millions for the fight against cancer.
Number 2, Pierre Elliott Trudeau.
At any cost, how far would you go with that? How far would you extend that? Well, just watch me.
Hailed by many as one of the greatest Canadian prime ministers of all time, Trudeau is well recognized
He's the third prime minister in this list.
For his accomplishments, which include his response to the October crisis of 1970, as well as his role in uniting Canada's two solitudes.
Promoted peace with the Soviet Union to the dismay of then-President Ronald Reagan, and fought to protect Canada's identity from its imposing neighbor to the south.
Successful at increasing Canada's stance on the world stage as well, thanks to his colorful persona. At home, Trudeau succeeded in making Canada a legally bilingual country, saw to the patriation of the Canadian Constitution.
Okay, so before that, they were just speaking English, I think, maybe?
And established...
Makes sense, because his last name is Trudeau, so I would assume he was pushing for the French to sort of be something in there.
The Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms.
The Constitution Act was signed into law by Queen Elizabeth in an elaborate ceremony on Parliament Hill.
His status as a Canadian icon is firmly...
I didn't know that this could be done, and the Queen sort of, you're having a sort of ceremony and the Queen actually signed something? I had no idea this was done.
Held due to his passion, his international diplomacy and quest for peace, as well as his no BS attitude.
World leaders past and present who knew and worked with Pierre Trudeau attended the funeral mass at the Basilica of Notre Dame for the man who served as Prime Minister for 15 years.
Meanwhile, His son Justin continued the Trudeau political legacy after he became the country's 23rd prime minister in 2015.
You built this platform. You built this movement.
Before we name our #1 Canadian of all time, here are some honorable mentions.
For Canadians, hockey isn't just a game. It's our game.
Talking about crazy voices as well.
Let me see. It is month 2.
Right.
Yes, so I'm not finished until December.
You oversee this show literally and figuratively.
Yeah, totally.
Figuratively, but
Yeah.
literally, your office is right up there.
Flying!
What comes first? The hundreds of thousands and millions of Rwandans? Or my troops who've been lent to me?
Number 1, Wayne Gretzky.
And back out comes Wayne Gretzky. Gretzky moving ahead, picks up Olsen, fights his way free, score!
As hockey is Canada's unofficial national pastime, the country spawned some phenomenal players, including Maurice Richard, also known as the Rocket.
That night, Richard not only succeeded in joining the historical greats of Canadian hockey, but he also reached the high point of his career.
However, only one ever earned the nickname the Great One.
And now he'll receive the Stanley Cup.
Great one. Okay, well, that's a pretty big shoes to fill.
And listen to this crowd at the Northlands Coliseum. The Edmonton Oilers.
The man who wore number 99 on the ice is hailed as the greatest hockey player of all time. And rightfully so.
I remember when you were traded from Edmonton Oilers to the Kings, it was a phenomenon that I can't think of anything comparable in sports.
Still holding 60 NHL records even this long after his retirement in 1999. Gretzky is such an icon.
Wait, he retired in 1999 and the records still haven't been broken? That's insane.
He was one of 4 Canadian athletes tasked with lighting the Olympic cauldron at the 2010 Vancouver Winter Olympics. In fact, Gretzky has surpassed the status of icon and is regarded as a living legend among Canadians today.
The greatest thing about the hockey players are they're wonderful people, and they want to be taught, and they want to be coached, and they want to get better, and they want to be successful.
Do you agree with our list?
No, it wasn't me. It was the one-armed man.
Who do you think is Canada's most influential icon?
We're gonna have to work at this every day, but I want to do that because I want you. I want all of you, forever, you and me, every day.
For more top 10s about great citizens published every day, be sure to subscribe to WatchMojo.com.
And there's a time to act. And this, gentlemen, is no time to think.
I think this was a great sort of informative for me because I had no idea there were so many Canadian people, and I think I only knew about a couple of them, even though I sort of knew of a few of them I knew, but I didn't know they were Canadians. And others, I had no idea they were just people I've never heard of their names. But just want to say the Wayne Gretzky one, I think, again, he retired, more than 20 years ago. And still the fact, I think, again, I don't know anything about hockey. I don't know anything about sports. But the fact that this guy retired so long ago and still the records are still intact and unbroken, that speaks a lot. I think he's probably, again, one of the most, even not just in Canada and for Canadian sort of players or just in hockey, I would assume, no, he's probably going to be up in the greatest sort of echelon of the sort of greatest sports players in sort of, and athletes probably, I think, in the world as in of all time. I think, again, with just, I don't know, other famous people. I don't know, Messi and Michael Jordan, or I don't know, a lot of Tom Brady. I don't know, a lot of sort of Serena Williams. All of those sort of greatest sort of sports players, I think, well, probably he also deserves to be there. maybe it's just because I don't really follow hockey that much. I don't know. Maybe is he so known? The name sort of ring a bell. And if I'm sort of, again, I don't know anything about hockey, it rings a bell. Probably, again, it tells me, yeah, he's pretty famous. But I think maybe he deserves more recognition, as in, again, when people are talking about the greatest sort of athletes of all time. I think maybe he should be included on the list. And I don't know if he's sort of that renowned, but he probably should. But something that's really funny to me is that, again, he's probably the most sort of famous sort of hockey player for people like me that have no idea. But because, again, I heard the name and I was, oh yeah, it rings a bell. I know he was a very famous hockey player. But it's funny to me that, when I'm thinking also hockey players, I'm thinking of, well, Tim Horton, which apparently I now know he's not just the restaurant chain is named after him. So it's kind of funny to me that, well, shouldn't Wayne Gretzky create his own restaurant chain? Maybe he doesn't need it. He already has enough name recognition. Probably, or I don't know. He probably has enough money or something, or he just doesn't care about getting into the restaurant business. But it's funny to me that, so between the two most famous hockey players to me, without knowing anything about this, it's probably, again, Tim Horton and Wayne Gretzky. And the Tim Horton is, well, it's for the restaurant, but I guess he was a hockey player. I don't know if he was that famous before he started the restaurant, or the restaurant he was not that well known, but after the restaurant then he became super known. I don't really know what it was like, but it's funny that so I think Wayne Gretzky should also he should create his own restaurant chain. And also, I don't know what he's doing with his life these days, because apparently, obviously, he retired a long time ago. But I think is he a coach or something? I know he seems like, again, he feels so great. He should probably be coaching. Well, I don't know if he does, actually. But hopefully he's sort of, he probably knows a lot. So, although I guess maybe you can argue, when it comes to athletes and sports, I think, of course, coaching is a big part of this. But obviously, there's some innate sort of things that it can be taught. So it's, maybe he can sort of teach everyone or people how to be the next Wayne Gretzky. But probably, you're not going to find them, because it's sort of the special qualities and just sort of, again, that make you the athlete that you are probably it's in you, and it doesn't really happen that often. And that's why we only have few athletes that could get, oh my god, the greatest of all time. But yeah, hopefully he's sort of putting the work and doing something, because again, it seems like such a shame to sort of be so great, sort of get all of that to sort of go to waste, although technically not wasted. But again, it's kind of, I don't know, we should have other great hockey players and athletes. The other thing, it was kind of surprising to me, but I don't know if it was all because, again, it's from the perspective of Canadians. And of course, if it's from the perspective of Canadians, they're going to think about things in a different sort of manner than people that, people from the outside. Because I think, there was a lot of politicians. I think there was Jim Carrey. I think it was he was just one actor. And the other were musicians, which I think, again, music sort of transcends a lot of things. And it was, I was expecting probably more musicians and sort of public figures. Because, again, those are the things that kind of, people are going to know you on the opposite side of the world, because maybe, again, you're just a very famous singer and people probably know your song. And maybe they don't really know if you're Canadian, or they don't really know your face. But probably, again, that song, I've heard that song if you're that famous. But I was surprised by the amount of politicians on this list, because it's, but again, maybe it's different if you're a Canadian. If you're Canadian, of course, because you grew up, hearing the stories, you learned this at school or whatever. So, of course, they're going to be thinking about things different. If I ask you which is the most famous Canadian, of course, Canadians are going to feel about things a bit different, because obviously they live in a different sort of landscape, and they have a whole historical background and cultural background that's different from people from the outside. And then you sort of get, I don't know, the remnants of other things. Probably if you follow a lot of sports, it's probably going to be, Wayne Gretzky. Or I don't know, if you're into music, you're probably going to be, Celine Dion. I don't know. And so it's kind of funny. There's a lot of politicians. I didn't know that there was a lot of prime ministers. That tells me that, because usually I think with people, I don't know if this is a recent thing or maybe that's just my perspective, but I think with sort of people, and I'm just speaking in general, when they're talking about sort of past politicians in their countries, whether that is prime ministers, presidents, or just, again, people in positions of power, maybe, I don't know, they could go two ways. People maybe think, again, if, he was a prime minister 60 years ago, 50 years ago. So people, I think usually goes two ways. Either people sort of praise them a lot and be, wow, why can't politicians now be like politicians back in those days? or they have, and I mean, some people might say it was a bit of a revisionist history. You're wearing a light back then, or you were just a young person, and I don't know. You can get into all sort of things. Or the other way is people tend to be, oh, they were all bad, and the ones we have now are just better. So it's kind of funny that, and I don't know, again, if this is my perspective, that, oh, but they have a lot of, that tells me that sort of the high approval ratings of past prime ministers, of Canadian prime ministers, they have a really high approval. So people seem to like it, and they seem to really oh no, we've had great politicians in the past, which I think is funny, because I don't think other countries, and again, maybe that's just my perspective, but I think in some other countries, people tend to be overly critical or just very critical of, again, past politicians. So it's kind of funny to me that, oh no, people in Canada, they seem to be really do approve of their past sort of politicians. So they really do approve of their sort of whole, again, their politics and their whole, ultimately it's not about much as politics, and it's about the legacy that they left on. So people, obviously, that's why that's, I think, probably the imprint that they probably left is, he's reminded for, again, the guy that did the whole sort of universal healthcare in Canada, the other that did, I know he signed a peace accord. All of those things obviously are the ones that, again, that's the legacy that people are going to remember you by, which I think is always a good sort of thing for a politician. Maybe if you're sort of, people are not going to probably remember kind of the smaller things that you did during your term, and those are pretty long terms, because that's, well, again, not necessarily, but I think a lot of the times, I think more than not, I think prime ministers tend to last a really long time. It's not just, I think presidents tend to last a little bit less, because obviously they have 4-year periods or 5, but it's usually 4. And I think prime ministers just tend to last a really, really long time. Like, that's what you can see. Oh, he was a prime minister for 15 years, 20 years, and it's just a lot. So ultimately, I think maybe it gives people also more time to sort of be in the, again, because 4 years is kind of, well, if you're living through the 4 years, it's probably a lot. But again, if you're sort of thinking about the whole sort of the scope of things, 4 years is kind of nothing. And if you're, again, thinking about historical events and stuff, 4 years, it can be sort of, oh, it was sort of a blink of an eye. But if you're talking about 15 years, 20 years, as in the whole time period that this person ruled, well, again, there's going to be so many things that they were able to do with this amount of time. So you can see, oh, well, again, people maybe I don't know how people were feeling back in that time period where they were doing all these things. But again, it would kind of really interesting to me to find out, were people did they have high approvals back in those days, or is it more of a, oh, now we look back on and we say, wow, what an incredible feat this was, that he signed this, or he did that, and I don't know, he sort of, the one that sort of created the modern Canada, the founding father. I'm going to call him the founding father. I don't know if they call him that, but I would be so interested to know if people back in those days, and it wasn't that long ago, people were sort of, oh, he had high approval, or people were super critical of him, being, no, he was bad, he's running, I don't know, he's really not a good sort of prime minister. It would be really interesting to me to sort of know how things have changed, because again, the legacy is sort of more important probably long term than when people are criticizing for, I don't know, people can criticize in the sort of day-to-day basis, but again, ultimately, as we can see in this video, I think really what matters is how people think about you probably long term, and again, sort of the legacy that you leave on. So that was very interesting. And of course, the Terry Fox one, I think he's also probably, I don't know, he can be called, no, he's not an athlete, although obviously he did an incredible athletic feat, but it's more about how, again, he sort of embodied the Canadian sort of spirit, which I love. His story is very, very sad, but it's still very, again, it's hopeful in a way as well. And I think that's probably the greatest legacy. Talking about legacies, I think he left an incredible legacy. And I'm happy to know that, wow, yeah, he's really, and probably Canadians will be happy to know that he's sort of really famous in other places and all over the world, because of, yeah, he did an incredible thing. And I think if he can sort of, he embodies, and I think a lot of Canadians probably feel that way, if he embodied sort of what it is, the greatest parts, or the greater parts about being Canadian and what being Canadian actually means. And I think they can feel very, very proud to be represented by someone like this. But that was it for today, and I'll see you soon. Bye!